Hey everyone. Okay, so we have finally reached the last story in our Valentine series. It's Harley Quinn. She has like a whole, like 20-page story, because she's a super popular character. Like, you know, a lot of people like her. And anyway, so this is our last story in this out of this book though. So, yeah, I'm sorry if you. I hope you enjoyed this series. I thought it was different. I thought it was fun, but I will definitely after this get back to just regular, kind of superhero stuff. I'm not focused on obviously a certain holiday, but I just thought this was a fun change, and there's some fun, interesting stories in here. So anyway, so we join Harley. And she's doing the typical, I'm the queen of the world. I'm from Titanic off the on the bow of this ferry. And everyone around her is like rolling their eyes and like, oh, okay, like how original, whatever. And the captain of the ferry is like, please get down from there. Please don't do that. Like, I'm so close to retiring without anything on my record, like a blemish on my record. And if, I just don't want you to ruin it. Just please get down. And he's like, how long have you even been on this ferry? And she's like, 2 days. And he's like, 2 days? Why? She's like, well, I brought my own food and I brought my own toilet paper. So like, I don't want to be a bother to anyone, but it's free and it has the best view of the city. And he's like, well, just don't do that again. Okay. And she's like, okay, I want to promise. And then she sends us under her breath until next time. And then you see this guy in this canoe just floating in the middle, like of the Hudson, and it's winter, and Harley's like, well, that guy's crazy, clearly. And he's talking about how, like, checking the pH levels, and he's like, how could anything live in this water? It's so toxic. The mercury levels are high, for one thing. And he's like, I'm so sorry, my little friends, the fish. I will avenge you for anyone that's, because, you can't defend yourself, so I will avenge, I will avenge you since you can't take care of yourself. And so swears Trip Bolden, the mighty carp. So he calls himself the mighty carp. So anyway, and then we join a Batman, and he comes in, it's 2 a.m., and there's Alfred, and he's like, what are you doing, Alfred? And he's like, Alfred says, I'm sure you have not eaten dinner. I'm sure you have not eaten anything. So here's your dinner. It's pan-seared chicken with shaved Brussels sprouts, and to drink, green tea and a banana and I think blueberry smoothie, he said. Yep, and some warm water. And Bruce is like, are you trying to tell me something, Alfred? Do you think I need to lose weight? And Alfred said, if I was trying to tell you something, sir, you would definitely know. But no, this is what the proper nourishment that's required of you, because for all your nocturnal activities. And I just wanted to remind you that you have the charity auction event tomorrow. You have, Bruce Wayne has volunteered to donate himself to bid on, so for a date. Basically the whole charity auction, bid on Bruce Wayne to win a date with him, goes to the highest bidder. And it's for the animal shelter. And Bruce is like, what did you say? And Alfred's like, I told you about it already. I made sure to lay out the tux that you had custom made in Naples, Italy for this event. You can complain about it later, but you need to go to bed, and I'll wake you up for your afternoon breakfast. And it's like, okay. So Harley hears about this on the TV, the date with Bruce Wayne, and she's like, holy cow, like, I need that. I need to win that. And the lady on TV says it's rumored to go up, to $1 million for a date with Bruce Wayne. It's like, holy cow, that's craziness. And her friend Eggie is like $1 million. Who does this guy think he is? Superman? And Harley Quinn's like, in my book, he is. I mean, look at what he's doing for all the dogs and cats, and he's so gorgeous and, you know, great body. I mean, she's like, I need to win that auction. You know, get Tony up here. And so Tony's like, so wait, you want to go out, you want to steal money to go out on this date? And she's like, yeah. And she's like, I think we should steal from someone who, he's like, where are you going to get this money from? She's like, I think we should steal from those jerks on Wall Street, the ones that laundered money, the ones that stole from people's retirement funds, the ones that never, pay their taxes, and they all get out of jail time because they're rich. We should steal from those people. And it's like, okay, so he does the search, and there's one guy that's in Brooklyn Heights, and he's like, okay, we should steal the money from him. And she's like, okay, sounds good. Do you think he has safes with lots of loots in him? And he's like, of course. Bankers don't trust banks. So, of course, he has that. And, basically, she's like, okay, I'm ready. Let's go. But how are you with combination safes? And he's like, well, it's better if I know the combination. And she's like, any suggestions, Aggie? And he's like, well, I suggest you go out with guys that want to go out with you. And she's like, well, I've tried that a couple times and it just didn't work out. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much that's anyone's dating story. It's definitely mine. Anyway, so Harley's ready to go, and Tony's like, well, slow down. We need to do this at night. So, go take a nap, rest up, whatever, and be ready at 8. And she was like, okay, naps are my favorite thing. So anyway, this is where it gets interesting. So now we're in a dream sequence, and this little rat thing says, so for all of you who are new to this, this is where the part where we give another artist a chance to shine and give the regular artist a break and give him, so that hopefully he can make the deadline on this book. So there's a couple of pages he doesn't have to do. So, that gives him plenty of time to finish the pages for his book. And, and the little rat says, and to think you could have spent your money on this month's latest pointless crossover where nothing happens beside you buying a bunch of books which you would never dream of buying. Yeah. Okay, so I just want to talk about what he said for a second. That is so true, because crossovers, basically, the main point of crossovers is to get you to buy a ton of comic books. And a lot of times, nothing really happens in those crossovers, or if something does happen, it doesn't really stay that way. Huge events happen, for example, Onslaught. He killed all the Avengers, destroyed them, changed the world forever, or Age of Apocalypse, where Legion went back in time and accidentally killed Xavier instead of Magneto. That sort of thing. They weren't long-term things. Age of Apocalypse and Onslaught Saga are still really good stories, but they weren't permanent. The Avengers came back, they had the whole Heroes Reborn. Apparently Franklin sent them all away to a pocket dimension so that they'd be safe. That sort of thing. So, I mean, it's kind of true. I mean, they're fun in the moment though, but, looking back, of course, yeah, they're, nothing happens really that's permanent in crossovers usually. So, I mean, anyway, so Harley's having this dream where she and Bruce are together and she's playing polo, and basically instead of a ball, she's using people. This one guy jaywalked, this one guy paid to be there, this one guy took, laundered money, and so, yeah. And she goes up to Bruce, and he's like, you know, darling, you look exhausted. Why don't you rinse off and change into something sexy, and we'll go have Italian for dinner. I'll tell Giovanni to hold our table in Italy, you know. And she's like, can I have dessert first? Meaning him. And then she changes into this diamond encrusted lingerie set. And she's like, these, you know, this outfit costs more than an island in the Bahamas. And Bruce is like, nothing's too good for you, honey. And he's like, come here and let me count all your carrots. And she's like, oh, Bruce, you tease. Anyway, so now they're on this boat. It gets better. It gets more interesting. And, you know, Harley's like, have you ever thought about having kids? And he's like, oh, yeah, I love kids. I want 36 kids. And she's like, wait, hold up. Did you say 36 kids? And he's like, yeah, it will be so great, you know. I mean, just to have a dozen feet running around the mansion. And, you know, basically we'd go to all their, there'd be all these birthday celebrations, and we can spend all our time, you know, with their first steps and first words and first everythings. And, all the time we would spend at their school's recitals. And Harley's just like, she's like, no, can't do it. You know, because for one thing, she's like, having 36 kids would totally like ruin my body. Like, it would ruin anyone's body. I mean, holy cow, 36 kids, that's insane. Having 36 kids, like naturally yourself, whoa, no. And then she's like, and you know, 36 kids, they'd all be crying and teething and just no. And so she shoots him. Oh, because she's like, nope, can't take that. But look at that, he's still alive. There's this fish in the middle of where his shot, you know, gun wound is. And she's like, what the heck? And he's like, he keeps talking. He's like, you know, I know, you know, once you have a chance to think about it, you'll see my side of things. And she's like, are you still talking? And even as he's getting eaten by a shark, he's like, imagine all the fun we'd have going to amusement parks and staying in endless rides so we can ride these rides that were created just to capitalize on intellectual properties. And then even as a fish, she's like, oh, this is undercooked. See, there he is getting eaten by the shark. He's still talking. As a fish, he's still talking. And then we could put our children in the best schools, and even when they commit crimes, which of course they would, we'd have the best lawyers to get them out of jail. And then we both know that these kids would never make it in the real world, so they'd have to spend the rest of their lives with us. And then, you know, their kids would be in the mansion too. And then their kids, and all of us would just live in the mansion together forever, and our bloodline would just continue forever. And she, even as she, like, he's still talking, and she flushes him down the toilet. And then she's like, oh, that was a terrible dream. No, that was a nightmare. And the rat says, you should go to sleep and try again, you know, and think happy thoughts. And she's like, good idea, my friend. You were brilliant. And he's like, of course, you idiot. I'm you. And so then she has a dream where she is in a wedding dress. She's marrying Bruce Wayne. And there's Ivy. And she's like, I hope you approve of Bruce. And Ivy's like, of course, you know, if you're happy, I'm happy. And she's like, well, I hope you're going to still join us for the honeymoon. And Ivy's like, I wouldn't miss it. And so then, you know, you see Harley being basically a mob boss while Bruce is away. And you see her smashing this car for taking up 2 parking spots. And instead of Black Friday, it's Black and Blue Friday. And basically as soon as, you know, people go through the door, she's going to pummel people. So anyway, so she wakes up and she's like, oh, that was much better dream. So she gets ready and she asks Tony, hey, do you have a car? He's like, yeah, I own a lot, and people, you know, there's people store cars there, and it's an ice cream truck because it's winter. So of course you don't use ice cream trucks in the winter. And Harley's like, do you think they have any ice cream in the back? And he's like, no. And please stop ringing the bell. We're trying to be inconspicuous. So they make it to Barney Runoff's like brownstone, and she's like, you know, are you Barney Brownstone? run up. And he's like, yeah, who's asking? And she's like, Batgirl. And she, breaks in, clobbers him, demands to know where the safe is. He's like, it's, and they threaten to destroy a Ming Dynasty vase for fancy people. And he's like, just don't destroy the vase. It's underneath the mattress. And she's like, are you kidding me? You're just trying to get me into bed, you dirty old man. And he's like, no, really, it is. And, yeah, it is. It's under the mattress. So they grab all the money, and they actually stuff his head on, the vase on his head. She's like, oh my gosh, you can't breathe. Oh, here, let me help. And she cracks it over his head. And then basically, Tony was waiting in the car while she, gets him to, well, she says, well, I told him he had to give back all the money in 48 hours or I'd come back to marry him. And he's like, really? Tony said, really? She said, or I broke his kneecaps and his hands and told him to tell me where his wife's jewelry was. And Tony, and you can see she's wearing earrings, new earrings, so that's probably what it is. Okay, so here we go. There's the guy that we saw in the beginning, in the middle of the Hudson in a canoe, the carp. And his sidekick is called the Sea Robin. So he tells the Sea Robin, this is the plan. We're gonna hit we're gonna go to Lincoln Center and get money so that we can save our friends, our fish friends. And he said to the carp, did you call for the cab? And he's like, or he tells Sea Robin, did you call for the cab? And Sea Robin says, was I supposed to do that? And the carp says, yeah, it was on your list. And he's like, there's a list? It's like, so you lost the list too. It's like, yeah. So they call for a cab. And the cabbie's like, are you guys going to a costume party? And he's like, the carp says, answer this question. Do you like fish? And the cabbie's like, well, yeah, I had a fish tank when I was growing up. I like fish. And he's like, oh, great. Okay, I will tell you my plan. We're going to a charity event and we're going to rob them. It's the fundraiser for the animal shelter, and we're going to rob them and use that money to save our fish friends. And the cabbie's like, he kicks him out and says, what, are you crazy? You're going to deprive the dogs and cats of all that money? So apparently the carp has invented a serum that can make him jump really far, because apparently carps can jump really far. And so that's how they're going to get to the charity event instead of using a car or anything. Okay, so here we have Harley arriving at the charity event in this, gorgeous new dress that she got. So, since it's already 18 minutes, I will leave it at that, and hopefully you will join me for the next video to find out what happens. And like I said, leave you on her in her gorgeous dress right outside the charity event. And so that is where we will start next time. So I hope you will join me for that. Until next time, bye.